Uses and gratifications theory always makes me think of this old song by Freddie Scott called You Got What I Need. And I'm not going to sing it, so you can Google it. But this theory is a great one to think about the audience member being in control of their experience and how they use media. So the objectives for this presentation are to name the theory's architects and describe the theory's main tenet. I want you to be able to define the terms, uses, and gratifications, and discuss how the theory could be applied. We'll also describe the assumptions of the theory and recognize some potential criticisms or drawbacks. And then you'll have the opportunity to consider how uses and gratifications can be applied to selecting the right media for your audience. So as we start this, I really want to put you in the role of reflecting upon how you engage with different types of media sources. So what are 3 regular media sources you seek out? Is it local news? Is it CNN? Fox, entertainment television, A&E? What are you going to when you think about, using media? I haven't listed social media on here, and that could definitely be something as you've read about in the article. But why do you seek out each type of media? I'm tuned into local news because I like to know what's happening in the area. Are there any traffic issues? What's the local weather? I might tune into Fox or CNN to get a more national or international perspective. If I want to just relax and unplug and not do any heavy thinking, I might tune into E or A&E just for more of the entertainment value. So that I've kind of walked through this last question and just having you reflect on what types of information you receive from each of those sources, and they may be different. So that's what uses and gratifications is all about, is recognizing that we use different media sources because they achieve different gratifications for us. The theory's architects are Katz, Bloomer, and Gurevich, and I've included the seminal citation here that you can have and reference. So these, although work was being done before this, as is typically found in our literature, it took this publication to kind of bring it all together and show the promise of this theory. So uses and gratifications theory is really concerned with what people do with the media. It's definitely putting us as the audience members in the driver's seat and really explaining why people integrate or use certain types of media more than others. So this theory seeks to explain the psychological needs, so what's happening internally in our brain or emotionally based, that helps shape why we use the media we do and what motivates us to engage in media use behaviors. So why do people spend an hour just mindlessly watching TikTok videos or scrolling through an Instagram feed? Or why do they tune into podcasts or watch certain news programming? So all of this is getting into the idea of gratifications, that we're using these media to derive gratifications that help us fulfill those intrinsic needs. So we have this felt need, and we're seeking out media to help achieve that. And it says within the confines of a particular socio-cultural movement. And I think that just helps place the theory within a certain time frame and maybe within a certain cultural setting. So here are the key terms for this theory: uses and then gratifications. So uses are the specific media channel choice or specific media type and the media channel chosen for exposure, as well as the duration of that media exposure. So this is what type of social media platform, this could be what television channel, this could be what podcast you're tuning into. Then the gratification is the types and degrees of gratifications obtained from that exposure to fulfill the need. So there are a number of gratifications that could be met, whether it's convenience, escape, surveillance, you're trying to get a better sense of the social environment. So there are gratifications obtained and then gratifications expected. And these aren't always the same. Like what you get out of that media experience may not be what you had expected. So how this theory is a little different from others we've discussed is that it's really concerned with how the audience uses media. So up here we have the hypodermic needle. There's also a bullet theory where it's just like direct to you. But in this approach, this viewpoint, the audience has little ability to resist any of the media messaging. Then we've talked about limited effects models where audiences do have that ability and they can filter, but the media is also responsible for kind of shaping the message. So even as if the audience is resisting certain types of messages, they might be getting a biased viewpoint on the topic. And then we have the moderate effects model, and this is where media has power, but the audience resists. And so really what this theory is doing different than these is it's really recognizing the audience's role and the power that the audience has in choosing media. So this theory, as I mentioned, developed before the seminal article was published. We've noted that in the 1940s, researchers became much more interested in how people were engaging with the media. And there was little theoretical work done at that time. It was primarily descriptive, and they were starting to build theories. From the 1950s to 60s, there was a shift from that traditional media effects model, the hypodermic needle model, to a more functional perspective, and recognizing that certain media might, have different responsibilities or roles in our lives. This underwent a revival in the 70s and 80s, and that's when this theory was officially published in that seminal piece, and wanted to recognize more conceptual and theoretical work. And then today, as you'll see, we can use this theory to explore the impact of new technologies on audience, and that we are definitely living in this information age. So this theory still has a lot of that heuristic value in encouraging additional studies. So these are some of the gratifications that you might have when you're seeking media. And these are really dependent upon, your own personal motivation, what interests you, the relevance of the information. So you can see that depending on what you need or what you're seeking, you might look for different media outlets to achieve these gratifications. So if it's information and education, you might, find a very informative website or YouTube video. If it's more social contact, you might use some sort of messaging service or plug into a social media platform to check on how things are going. If it's lifestyle expression, you might be creating content and sharing that. Security, this is, feel a personal security and safety. So in a crisis, there might be certain types of media outlets you would seek out because you want to have that sense of security. So I'm not going to talk through all of these, but you could definitely refer to these in the discussion question as you think about what types of media outlets exist and what are the gratifications that people are trying to fulfill by using them. So when you're doing a uses and gratifications theory study, there are 4 qualifications that need to be met. Within the theory's guidelines, it says that the media use has to be purposive, and intentional, meaning that you as an audience member get to choose what media to expose yourself to. If you're living in a society or in a situation where you don't get to have that free choice, the theory does not apply. The second one is that those media choices are driven by your felt needs and that you're weighing other possible options to meet them. The third is that you have to initiate the media selection. Again, that idea of free choice, free will, really putting the audience member in control. And the final one is that you as the individual understand and can articulate why you're choosing specific media content. And that might be more difficult to do at first, but if you're going to use this theory in a study, you need to be able to get people to either check a box that says, yes, this is why I used it, or be able to explain it in a more qualitative setting. So when those conditions are met, you can apply this theory to explain how the media are used by consumers, audience members, however you want to put, whatever word you want to put in here, to satisfy their needs. You could also identify motives for media choices, and this could be really important if you're trying to drive what media outlets to use within an organization. Knowing what people want to use and why they're using them could be very informative in selecting that media mix. The final thing is that the media, it can explain the media's functions for us as individuals based on our needs, motives, and communication behaviors. So again, the theory is really good at putting the audience member in control and trying to get a better understanding of what would motivate them to seek out certain media. This theory has been applied in a wide range of areas. As you can tell from the list here, as the types of media outlets evolve and change and new ones come on into being, we can use uses and gratifications theory to find out how people are using it and what gratifications they're seeking through that process. So it's been used to study more traditional media forms such as radio, television, and newspapers. It's even been used to study telephone use as a source of information. Then it's gone into more of our Web 2.0, Web 3.0 world of websites, discussion boards, blogs, and even more, such as social media.